AI.
So
AI. AI survey.
AI. Okay. So
Survey
well,
says,
survey says, ding, ding,
ding.
ding, ding. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pros Talking Prose. You can see that Troy and I are like it's the mid-afternoon slump, and we're trying really hard to stay
A little punchy.
energetic.
Little punchy.
We're a
And
little
this is
punchy.
not the Family Feud.
Yeah,
This
nope, not
is
at all.
not the Family Feud.
Not the
Yeah.
Family Feud. So, but it's been a crazy day today. It's been a crazy week. Personally, professionally, it's just been crazy. We're making magic happen. So that's exciting. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about something fun. Troy and I, if you have been following us for a little bit of time, you'll know that we threw out a survey. It's been over a month ago about AI
Mhm.
and how authors feel about AI because there's a lot of, mixed messaging out there about it. And none of it really is directed or has been directed at our particular industry in specific focus. It's all just been kind of like, here's the general idea, but we wanted to actually focus in on our industry and see where authors are sitting with this tool because we want, first of all, I think Troy and I have always been really clear about wanting to have accurate and truthful and authentic um, messaging when it comes to getting information
Mhm.
and everything. We've tried really hard to be not unbiased because I do like I think sometimes we're a little biased about things, but we do want you guys to be able to make your own decisions, and we try to be very, very fair in our assessment of all these things that come out and help you hopefully do the same so that you can be fair about your assessment of things, and use your brains,
Mhm.
and use your
Well,
brains.
and Stacy and I have different biases too.
Yeah.
I use AI differently than she does.
Mm-hmm.
We both feel differently about certain aspects of AI. And the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, that's fine. You're allowed to feel however you want about anything,
Mm-hmm.
really. I mean,
Exactly.
it's not that type of thing. But what we wanted to see was like there's been Author Guild and a couple other surveys that have kind of been around different aspects of AI or whatever, but no, like we kind of felt like there was a gap there, and it partly inspired by another survey that was for the general
Mm-hmm.
public that I saw that I was like, I wonder if authors feel the same way. So this wasn't about what tools you use, it wasn't about how you use AI or different things like that. It was like, how do you feel about AI in certain aspects of your author career? And that's the reason we set this up the way that it was, is not to capture that's almost a separate survey to talk about like how are you using AI, what tools are you using, how is that
Mm-hmm.
impacting that part of your business. We just wanted more of a sentiment, like a feeling, rather than a tooltip
Yeah, we
survey.
wanted
Does
we
that make
wanted to
sense?
I think you did make it. I think what we really wanted to do is actually, because that's the thing, right? I mean, we're all about trust and transparency and helping people understand and know um how to approach new tools, and whether we like it or not, AI is here, and whether you want to use it or not, you're probably using it without even realizing you're using it in a lot of ways.
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
sometimes. So but what we call AI and what is actually intelligence is completely different. That's not what we're debating here. What we're debating here is like the use of it in terms of your creative process and whether or not you feel that it is useful or not, or that it's beneficial or not, and so on and so forth. So that was
Right.
kind of the approach that we took with this survey. And Troy, I would love to take some credit for this, but Troy did really do the knuckle grinding on this thing. So it really was his baby, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you also let me stand on the shoulder of your giantness.
Oh goodness. Oh
but
man.
this particular report that you've compiled is quite comprehensive and interesting, and we kind of wanted to review that in a non-academic aspect, because the way that you've written up this
Right.
report is more academic related and very what's the word I'm looking
Unopinionated. And
unopinionated.
well, and here, so let me let me explain from the academic, because I've done this in a lot of different areas, environmental, and I actually worked for a company for a while. That what we did was we did interpretive surveys for this company as a form of PR. It was
Okay.
super effective.
Right.
Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But the reason we do like a non-biased, neutral type report at the end of it is because we just want to present the facts.
Right.
Like, this is what we learned. These are what the answers were to the survey, and let's chart those.
Right.
So, what I'm going to do initially is I'll explain the methodology of how
Mm-hmm.
we did this. And that's generally the way you start one of these reports is this is the method that we used. We use
Mm-hmm.
this type of survey, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go into the results. Well, the results can be either simply the results or the results with interpretation of like, and
Mm-hmm.
so today what we want to do is add a little bit of interpretation that may
Interpretation. Mm-hmm.
be opinionated. It probably will be biased in a certain way simply because we do have bias. So I'm
We're a
never
little
going
biased.
to, unless I just did a video where I read the report pretty much and added no color commentary, which I would find nearly impossible. I then that would be a totally unbiased video. That's not what this is. This is our opinion based on the things that we found in a survey that we conducted. But first, let me tell you how the survey was done so that you understand. And I will say right up front that we did not have as many responses as we would have
As we
liked.
hoped. Yeah.
Was it still statistically significant? Yes. Would I have liked more to make it more statistically significant? Yes. But I do feel like this is a representative survey, again, inserting my opinion, because of the variety of answers that we got.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the variety in demographics. So we'll talk about this initially at first. Okay, so we collected responses from 232 authors.
Right.
Demographic items were either by category or, in the case of genre, we had a select all that apply format. Then the questions after that were what we call attitudinal, which means on a 5-point scale, 1 means strong disagreement, 5 denotes strong agreement. Throughout the report that we have, which we'll have available for you guys to download, it's neat, it's pretty, it's boring, it's academic, but it does have facts in
But
there.
it
It
has
just has
facts on it.
facts in there.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the report, the scale in the report, agree refers to the combined top two ratings of 4 and 5, disagree to the bottom two ratings 1 and 2, and neutral to the midpoint 3. So percentages are computed from raw response counts and rounded to the nearest whole number. So they may not add up to exactly 100% is what that essentially means. Okay. Um, uh,
This was
and
an Yeah, this was
what's that?
a I was going to say that we didn't pay anybody to take the survey. Like that is something that's
Yeah,
important to understand too. We didn't pay anybody. They came through and they were all voluntarily taken and it was
yeah,
purely a voluntary basis.
yeah.
There was no
Early,
incentives for taking it or anything like that.
yeah, there was no gift card for taking it. There was no even gift card drawing for people that took it, which some
Mm-mm.
people do sometimes. We didn't do any of that. There was no incentivized. It was just purely a voluntary survey.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically the genre question that we asked did generate 642 responses from 232 respondents. That's because we allowed people to select more than one.
Right.
But we'll talk about what those results look like. But what's interesting about this is that the demographics, when we look at experience, like how much experience people had, and then their route to publication, were super interesting because the respondents were predominantly seasoned authors.
Mm-hmm.
56% had 8 or more years of writing experience.
That's good.
32% had more than 15 years. Now, this is going to apply later on when we talk about some other aspects of this
Mm-hmm.
survey as well. So, only 2% had been writing for less than a year. So, one thing that tells us, first of all, we're not reaching brand new readers with some of our, or writers with some of our stuff that's, only 2% have been writing for less than a year. The other thing is that people who have been writing for less than a year probably have less strong opinions on I would suspect.
Possibly. Or
And this
they
is an opinion, or they just
yeah,
don't know
we don't
yet.
we yeah, because we didn't it what the samples we weren't able to determine, I mean, we could have probably broke it down, but we didn't choose to, where you can determine which respondents were the ones that, if they were the seasoned
Hmm.
ones that actually were more leaned one way or another. We didn't go that deep into this information, and maybe we'll do another survey eventually that will
And
one day feed into that.
we could, but
We
we kind of
could
did it on
maybe.
purpose
Yeah,
because
we
we
wanted
wanted
to
to
kind of see
anonymize things
generally.
as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, because
So
we had some questions of people like, how do I know I can trust you guys to keep my information private? And I'm like, well, you don't, but you don't know that when you answer
buy,
any survey,
or when you
right?
buy, yeah, when you
So,
answer the how was customer
so
service at Walmart,
you know,
you just don't
if you didn't trust us, that's okay, and didn't want to
don't
fill it
fill
out
it
as a
out.
result, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. In some cases I felt kind of bad about that because I was like, I feel bad that you don't trust me that I'm not going to use your information in some nefarious way. But
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, we did not do that. So the results are extremely anonymized. There
In
are
fact,
ways that we could tie things
I
to
don't think
the
we even added these people to our newsletter list at all.
No,
We didn't
they were
even
not
add,
added to
they're not
to the
added
newsletter
to
list unless they opted in.
already
And the
in.
only thing we had people opt into was hearing back more about the results of the survey.
Yeah.
We did not add them to our general email list. And
Yeah.
the reason is we didn't have the right to. Like, we
Yeah.
didn't
We
ask
didn't
you
want
for that
to.
right. That's why we wanted this to be a 100% voluntary
Hmm.
survey. We're not going to use your information. We're not going to send you emails. We're not going to do anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the other thing that was interesting is that basically there were 50% of the sample were people that self-publish and 18% were hybrids. So that's basically 20 and 27% were not yet published. So
Okay.
there were a mere 5% that were exclusively traditionally published. That's extremely rare in today's market anyway. So that kind of holds up with the general demographics of authors. But
Hmm.
68% publishing independently or through a hybrid type model. So
Which is like
that's
where
pretty much.
they both traditionally and independently
Yep.
publish.
And that's pretty
Hmm.
much expected. That's
Hmm.
kind of the mix that we find in general author circles now in today's market. Okay, so it's not that none of that is super surprising. What is surprising is the amount of income from
Income.
writing.
Yeah.
So for most respondents, writing is not their principal income source. Just
Hmm.
over a third earn 0%
Hmm.
of their annual income from writing, and a further 43% between 1 and 24%. So 78% of the people that answered derived less than a quarter of their income from writing,
Hmm.
while 15% say that writing is their primary income. What's interesting about that is when you combine that with the years of experience, we're talking about that 56% have 8 or more years of writing experience, and a total of 15% have writing as their primary income. That shows you again how difficult it is to make that transition from writing, even writing and making some money, to making
And that,
living type of
I
money.
think the thing that's very interesting about this is oftentimes when we talk to new authors, especially, they come to us with stars in their eyes and they think that this is going to, fund their retirement, or that they're going to be able to quit their job and, they can just write books for the rest of their life. And
With one book, starting
with
with
one,
one
yeah,
book.
with one book, which, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't even know if there's ever been in the history of book writing ever been a person that's been able to do that. Um, I don't think even like JK didn't probably quit her day job until, like she was, sold the
Well,
rights
yeah,
to somebody, you know what I mean? It
it
like
was a
it
it was a while before Harry Potter um became
worldwide. Yeah,
first
it
of all,
became like,
had a full series completed and
mhm.
became something that was popular worldwide and got movie options, all
Yeah,
that kind of
it
stuff.
took a
So
long, long time. But
it
the
takes a
thing
long
that,
time.
and not only that, I mean, I haven't gone down this rabbit hole, but I would love to tell people what Andy Weir did and how he sold the rights to this latest, the Project Hail Mary. If you'd be
Hmm.
surprised how much he sold the rights to that movie for. It's not what you guys think. And the success in the box office, hopefully the man was smart and he got some kind of
He got
royalties
some
out of that.
royalties.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
but
yeah.
the initial rights sale of that was not
Which,
what you
by the
think it
way,
is.
If you get approached for movie rights to your book, first of all, congratulations and all that kind of stuff. But if you get approached for movie rights to your books, don't ever take a deal without any royalties. That's a
Yeah,
one-time
because it's
payment.
just a
You
one-time
will
payment. It's
almost
just
always be
always
very,
lose.
very sad later
Yeah.
on if you do
Yeah,
something like
especially
that.
especially if it's a movie that takes off and does really well.
Yeah.
So,
Even
yeah,
if it
just
doesn't
don't
take
do it.
off that much, always, always, always take some royalties somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Um,
my point is, I was just going to point this
yeah.
out is that just a lot of times people think that it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to make this money and this is going to be, I want you to know that those of you who are out there discouraged because you think I must be failing because I'm not making, I want you to know you're not in a boat alone. This
Oh,
is the
yeah.
boat that
No.
all the authors are in.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
just put
I
out a
think
video
sometimes
where I
people get it.
compared an Iron Man
Mhm.
to writing a novel, right? And one of the things I said towards the end of that was essentially this, is that probably a sub 5 hour triathlon and spending 12 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list are equally rare.
Yeah.
Like if you as an author just think that if you do this thing and this, and it's just going to happen for you, you have to understand the amount of pain and effort and money and time and things that go behind someone who writes a book most of the time that's great enough to be on the New York Times bestseller list for that long, right?
Mm,
It's the reason is because that's something that's a great book that can endure on the top of a list for that long. And to create something great really takes significant effort. Same as training for a sub 5 hour triathlon takes tremendous effort. And the truth is not everybody can do it.
mhm.
And not everybody will endure the training that it takes to do it. So that's part of that. Anyway,
Right,
that little
right.
sideline free.
So it's a little but
That's a
I
free
wanted to give some
bonus,
people like that's where
you know.
like my insert some of that, opinion that we have because I want people to understand. I mean, yeah, that's the statistics, but also that's the norm. Like so I love
Right.
giving people some hope that like I want you to feel less discouraged and feel like you're because I know a lot of authors they think, well, then I must be failing because I'm not a millionaire on my book
Yeah.
or my book must
Just
suck
know,
because no, that's just
just
normal. That's just
know
normal.
that most authors still have a day job.
Mhm.
Most authors.
Or
So
side
just
gig.
get it out of your head
Mhm.
that that's the dream that you should be shooting for, because that dream, and I mean, I'll tell you from personal experience, first of all, it's very hard to get there, and second of all, it's very hard to maintain.
Right.
Okay, it's a lot of work, a lot of
Right.
work. So anyway, all that being said, there's that. Okay,
There's that.
so and I'm not going to go through the genre breakdown. The primary reason is we were pretty much split between a whole bunch of different genres,
Yeah.
evenly split, and because people could answer more than one, and a lot of people actually did write more than one genre, that like it's not really super. That doesn't really tell us a whole lot other than that people write a large variety of books. Okay, so
Yeah.
when
That's
when
good.
you download the report, you can read all about that. But where we started to get into the meat of things was with the questions that we covered about people's general posture towards AI. So how people
Mhm.
generally feel about AI. It's really interesting because the opinion on whether AI is playing a positive role in the world is split almost evenly. 38% say yes, it's having a positive effect. 38% disagree, with the rest of the percentage being neutral, or people like, I
I
don't know if
don't
it's good or
know.
bad,
Yeah, I don't know.
right? But it's almost exactly divided. Okay. And this is gonna get interesting in just a couple minutes. Okay. Trust in AI's reliability is low. Only 15% agree that AI tools produce reliable, accurate information.
So what that
54% say it does not.
it does not. So that was what was interesting to me is even those people that agree that AI is moving us in a positive way, they disagree or they feel that it's not trustworthy.
It's not 100% reliable. Well, and there's some more interesting statistics that we're going to get to that are going to
Yeah.
play into that.
Right.
But what's also interesting is the pace at which AI is moving.
Right.
So 54% that AI said that AI is moving too fast for society to adapt to its consequences.
Yeah, and I agree with
That's
that.
really interesting. So the sample is not hostile towards AI,
Mm-mm.
but confidence in the technology and in the speed of deployment, those things are where people are shaky.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not anti-AI at all, which I've told you guys lots of times. I'm not anti-AI. I'm not anti-AI in
No,
writing,
neither
not
am
in
I.
any of that type of things. I would share with you my responses to this survey, but I'm not going to. But anyway,
Yeah, we're not going
uh,
to. But we also say that there's a time and a place, right? We always say
right,
that. So we're saying if you're
right.
using AI, use it with great discernment. But this point is that it's just interesting to me that some people are like, yeah, I think it's doing positive things, but I think we're moving at a pace that we can't keep up, or that it's not gonna that we're not doing a good
Well,
job
right.
keeping
That
up.
we don't. The problem is because things are moving too fast, keeping it safe and reliable is extremely challenging. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
and we know this, right? There
Mm-hmm.
were also a large number of people who were neutral
Mm-hmm.
in that
Probably
part,
because they
right? We
just
have
don't
54%
know.
against, 54% said, um,
AI is moving
let's
too
see, how do
fast.
we, yeah, 54% saying that AI is moving too fast, right? But then there's a
Mm-hmm.
percentage in the middle. They're like, I don't know if it's moving too fast or not. And part of that is because we're getting kind of a head spin here. Everything changes there's an update almost every day. You open Claude, you open AI, there's an update almost every single day. And so it's like, yeah, things are moving so fast, and you're reading about just developments every single day that are changing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting, the thing that makes that 15% of people that basically say there's only 15% that say AI is reliable. Only 15% that say it produces reliable results. 54% say it doesn't. The rest of people are kind of neutral. I don't know if it does or doesn't, but they don't have real confidence that AI is producing accurate
Mm-hmm.
information. But in the next set of questions where we talk about adoption and use in practice,
Yeah.
okay, AI tools are already mainstream part of many people's workflows. Just under half, 48%, report currently using AI as part of their writing or publishing process. 15% believe it creates reliable results. 48% of people use it in their writing and publishing process. And 56% use AI specifically for research, editing, or idea generation. 56%. 56% of people are using it, and only 15% of people trust it. That is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is super interesting to me because it tells me, even though, and we talked about this before we started, and we can talk about it again a little more in a minute, but how AI sounds very confident
Mm-hmm.
when it's giving you answers, but it is not right. And I'll give you an example. We'll talk about that example that we talked about. We'll talk about that
Yeah,
in
we'll
a few
talk about
minutes.
that. Okay,
Okay.
good. Because that was good.
But basically, at the research, the usefulness, people said AI is extremely useful for AI. I mean, for research. 64% of people said it's very useful for research.
Mhm.
That's the highest response on all the attitudinal items, all the items that were 1 to 5.
For research, which
And
is really
adoption
interesting to
appears to
me.
be growing. 50% say their use of AI has increased over the last year.
That makes sense.
Okay. That makes sense, right? People are using it more, especially,
More,
I mean, let's just be
especially because it's
real.
getting
AI
forced on
is
us.
here, and people are using it for things like I used it because Holly's brother used it to conceptualize what their house would look like with a different color paint on it. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, that's a
I've heard
brilliant
women
idea.
use it for
So
like hairstyles. So,
hairstyles, they're try-on apps where you can try on clothes on your body that you see
hmm
on Amazon or whatever. I mean, there are some practical things you can use AI for, and more people in the general public, even people who are just not techie, it started out as a techie thing and authors that were techie and things like that. And now everybody, widely, people who aren't techie at all, are seeing this AI thing as really useful because they can ask it a question and get an answer. right? And
Yeah.
many people are trusting that an answer is true, obviously less so in the author world than people that are out in the general public that are trusting AI for things like therapy, handling their stock portfolio, things that, have a real impact on your life. But anyway, okay. So, but respondents receive practical benefits. A majority agree that AI helps them work more efficiently, and 50% agree that AI has made certain aspects of the publishing process, like marketing, formatting, query letters, easier.
Right.
This productivity is consistent with the pattern of use. Adoption is concentrating on supporting uses for publishing, emails, whatever, all those different things, right? And preparatory tasks like outlining and things like that rather than finished creative tasks. So it makes sense. 53% say it helps them work more efficiently.
And honestly, I feel
So,
like AI is helping. I mean, this is my opinion again, I'm inserting here, but I feel like I've been recommending AI for use in terms of like helping with, like, again, that idea generation, helping people understand and get out of uh what we used to call in the old days writer's block, because it
mhm,
really does take away that writer's block. It allows us to kind of unblock some of that brain um block that we get when our creative muse feels like it's on hiatus and we're trying to like figure out how to get our characters out of sticky
mhm.
situations. Throwing it into AI and having them generate 4 or 5 different ways that maybe your character can get out of that sticky situation is helpful. Again, it's not something that I always say, yeah, 100% go with what they tell you, but it'll wake up your muse. It'll give you an idea
Well,
of a way to go.
yeah. It's similar to, so I always tell the story that there was a gal in our critique group for a long time who like would come to us and she'd be like, she'd go, let's have a brainstorming session. So a couple of us would get on Zoom with her, whatever. And she would say, well, I'm in this particular part of the story and I'm stuck. And we'd say, okay, well, what about this? She'd say, oh, no, that's not going to work because of this, this, and this. And we say, oh, what about this? Oh, that's not going to work because of this, this, and this. And suddenly she would come up with her own answer. It was a
Mm-hmm.
rare instance when she took anything away from what we offered as fellow writers, critique group people who were saying, hey, this idea might get you out of that thing. And instead, she didn't take what we offered her, but our offering of all these alternatives that she rejected caused her to be able to make a choice of her own going forward.
Right.
The danger
And
of
that's what.
using AI for ideation like that is that you stop using your own ideas.
Oh, yeah, and we can talk about that a little
Which,
bit later,
yeah,
but
we'll talk about that a little
we'll
bit too once
but
we get
yeah,
through the
there is
results
some
of the
there's not ever
survey.
going to be a caution-free portion of this, I think, in my opinion.
Oh no, there's the problem. The basic thing is AI is like any other tool, is that if you overuse it for the wrong things, it can become a detriment rather than a help.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the way it is with almost any tool. So we'll just be honest about that as we go forward. And it leads right into the next set of questions that we asked authors were about concerns and perceived
Perceived
threats,
threats. Yeah.
right? Like, what is the threat? The strongest agreement of any item in this category, one of the strongest in the survey, is that AI companies prioritize profit over the interests of creators and authors. 71% of people said that. Now, is this
Mm-hmm.
shocking to anyone? It
Shouldn't
is
be.
not shocking to me at all. Of
Mm-mm.
course, AI companies prioritize profits. We have known for years that even though Amazon is a place that we publish, they prioritize profits over benefits to authors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not
Mm-hmm.
shocked. It is a for profit company. That is what they do. Now, when they do things that are good for their profit and good for authors, we cheer. When they do things that are good for their profit and not good for authors, we get upset. But we have to understand that's a business decision on their part. But we have to understand that AI is designed to take tasks off your plate. And for some people, creative tasks are not things that they want on their plate, but they don't necessarily want to pay somebody to do them. So they feel like they can shortcut with AI to do it. Okay. That's not the majority of the time, I don't feel like that's a great idea to use
Mm-hmm.
AI as a shortcut. If you use it as a helper and as a tool, Wonderful, great, shortcut, generally bad idea. Okay. But anyway, but 71% of people say that they prioritize profits over the interests of creators. Not a shock. Not a shock at all. Okay. But a plurality, 46%, are also concerned that publishers and platforms are adopting an AI in ways that harm authors.
This was
This
interesting.
is also not a surprise to me.
No, but it was interesting to me because these are the same people that are answering the question that they use it.
Right.
So here's the thing that was interesting to me is I have, like there's the morality side of using it, and then there's the useful side of using it, and there's the the whole economical use,
Mm-hmm.
concerns. There's the what's the other one, the environmental impact
Environmental
that they're saying.
concerns. Yep.
So there's a lot of things that come into play when we talk about these kinds of things. It's one of those things where I found this information interesting because yes, it's not surprising, but also there's still 56% of us using it and increasingly using it
Right. Well, and
regularly.
what the other part that's interesting about that is what those people are concerned with is how other people, how publishers and companies are using it, right?
Yeah, that is
But
interesting too
how
because
I choose to use it is absolutely fine. So these are the people that will argue with me and say, however I choose to use AI is absolutely fine. And I'll say, actually, you're right. Absolutely. You can use AI any way you want. But if I have the freedom to use AI any way I want, so does Thomas and Mercer.
yeah.
Now, is that going to hurt authors? Maybe. Is it going to increase Thomas and Mercer's profits? Also, maybe. And that could be their motive for doing so, which we've already covered that we fully
I
believe
mean,
that companies are using it to increase their profits.
yeah.
As a company, I plan to use it to increase my profits
Well, here's
and reduce
the other
make
side of
work.
here's the devil's advocate coming in on that. Let's just talk about a little bit, just briefly, because I haven't really done the wormhole deep dive on this, but I do know
Mm-hmm.
statistically that there are at least 5 big tech companies that I know have laid off hundreds of thousands of people to
Mm-hmm.
increase their profits, right? Let's just talk about one of them that we all know and love, the great KDP. I went in there today and to talk to a human specifically because there was an issue that we had to have resolved for a client so she can set up her books for pre-order. So when we went in there and I opened up their contact, it used to be that it would take me directly to a screen where it was like, does
Call, email. Yeah.
ask questions, do any of these questions answer your question? No. Well, then here's a contact. We can chat with you, we can call you back, or you can email us. Which one of these do you want to do? It took, like, I had to go through about 6 extra steps today because they've removed that direct access. And what they've done is they've inserted an AI assistant, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically trying to get me to get the information I need from this AI assistant, which, by the way, I knew it was an AI assistant from the get go. I typed, I want to talk to a human 4 times because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that AI assistant was not going to be able to resolve the issue that she
Yes.
had. And that right there is like the result of companies trying to be more profitable. However, there have been people like maybe it wasn't Bezos. One of them, I think it might have been Zuckerberg. One of them that like did this massive layoff came back not a week later and said, "Oops, I think I made a mistake."
Mm-hmm.
And it had
Duolingo did
and
this.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it was Zuckerberg too, because there was a big picture of
Mm-hmm.
Mark just like, oh, like
Yeah.
there was that picture of him.
Probably created by AI.
Yeah, probably created by AI. Probably. But it was one of those situations where I was like, yeah, and he publicly came out and said, I think I might have done that preemptively or done it a little too
Mm-hmm.
soon. And it's
Yes.
true because people were optimistically just like, oh, this is just going to save me all kinds of problems, but then ultimately not seeing the result of that
Well,
decision and the impact it makes.
And one of the things with like AI chatbots and stuff like that is I understand why companies are doing it because
It does screen
Stacy and I experienced this too, is that people come and sometimes ask the same questions over and over
over and
that
over
are
and over again.
easily found. Like there's actually a website that's called Let Me Google That For You. And basically, because
Really?
that's much of the time, many of the answers that authors are looking for, other people are looking for, can be found very simply by Googling or looking through those frequently asked questions, stuff like that. So, paying a customer service representative to answer those same questions over and over again in an era where AI has so many of those answers doesn't make sense. The problem is that for me and for many others, by the time I contact customer service, I've already done all those
I've
things.
already done this. I've done the Google
I'm not
search.
calling them to ask a question that I can Google. I'm
Right.
calling them to answer a question that's much more complex than that. Okay, so that's part of what is happening here is companies are doing this because it truly does in some cases save them time and money and stuff like that. But in other cases where you have a power user or whatever that's coming in, we don't immediately when we say we want to talk to a human, I would appreciate if they routed me to a human. I know why they don't, because otherwise every person that comes in the chat is going to ask to speak to a human before they even vetted through the simple questions. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like our friend Russell that did this thing for a while where basically in certain areas he would not coach you until after you took one of his courses. And the
Yeah.
reason was then you got all the answers to those frequently asked questions, so he's not repeating himself on a call with you. And by the time you get to a call with him, you're actually asking valuable questions that are worth his time to answer, right?
Right.
So it's very similar in principle and idea. I understand why they're doing it, but there are many companies that are also rolling back on that in certain other areas like coding and things like that because they're
Mm-hmm.
discovering that AI code looks good on the surface, but when you put it under pressure, which is what you have to do, then it doesn't hold up. This is the exact same thing with AI writing in my mind, as much of the time when you put it under pressure, it doesn't hold up, right? Then you need a human in there, right? That's
Right.
anyway. That's even when it comes to copy and things like that. AI can create a pretty good draft for you. You need to go in there and fix it.
Fix it.
It's
Yeah.
just like that guy that I don't remember who it was, but some politician or judge or somebody got up and read a speech that was clearly written by
Oh
AI,
yeah.
and he read the prompt or whatever that was part of it. It's just freaking funny. I thought it was hilarious because this goes to one of those things where not only did you have AI create it for you, but you read it for the first time in front of a microphone.
Well, you know what's
Like
funny
you
is
didn't
like
read it
that's
ahead of time.
I'm not kidding.
Like,
There are people on YouTube, Book Talk, all kinds of things that they're looking at books, and anytime they catch these authors with these that have left in prompts,
mhm,
they're
yeah.
like, "What are you
Oh,
doing?"
yeah. Like that
They'll
is, and I
read
mean,
them. They'll call you
it
out.
tells you exactly what is happening.
Yeah.
Now, this next section is also interesting because these questions are framed around like personal or market level threats.
Okay.
So the results of these are also surprising because only 15% of people trust that it's giving reliable results, but 56% of people are using it. That use is increasing over time. 50% use more than they did last year. Okay. But agreement that AI poses a serious threat to your own career is actually outweighed by disagreement. More people do not think that it is a threat to their career. 38% feel like it's a threat to my author career. It's going to cause me problems. 47% say no, it's not a problem.
Mm,
Okay.
hmm.
Is concerned that AI generated writing will flood and devalue the market. 41% agree, 43% disagree. And I'm with the people that disagree, by the way. I do not think that AI generated writing will flood the market and devalue the market. I do not. I think it will
I think
cause some
that's
confusion for
yeah.
a short period of time, but I think that 100% AI generated writing that is being thrown out there is going to do absolutely nothing to devalue the market. Your book does not sync on Amazon because a whole bunch of people uploaded AI slop today. That's not what happened.
Do you know the only thing that
That's the algorithm is way more complex than that.
the
Way
only
more
yeah,
complex than
it's way
that.
more complex
You
than
know.
that, but it's also you have to understand that the sink or swim aspect has too many other variables. It has nothing to do with, like you said, the content that's
Yeah.
generated. It has to do with the way that you um and I know a lot of people worry about saturation because that was, it's not
Oh.
easy to get noticed in a market, but it is if you know how to create something that is leveled up. It's one of those things that we were talking about earlier where you
Mm-hmm.
talk about like AI is really good at creating average. I just went through
Mm-hmm.
I went through the Publishers Weekly magazine this week, and I went through their latest issue, and I was just scrolling through, you know, and I was looking at some of the covers, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And
Mm-hmm.
like these are people that either paid to be promoted or got picked up by Publishers Weekly to run an ad in their issue. But some of them, you can tell that they're mediocre to average covers, and
Mm-hmm.
it's okay, but it's always what you see in the marketplace. Nothing really stands out. The ones that stand out, the ones that made caught my eye, were the ones that put the extra effort in, and they weren't
Yep.
AI generated, and you can tell the difference. That they are,
Mm-hmm.
that they spent the time on the quality, and they spent time with a designer and things like that, because there is just that extra oomph. And I've said this before, when I work with a designer and I hand her, or I have a favorite, when I hand her a cover and I say, hey, look, I can't seem to get past this point, and I give it to her, she always makes it look better. And I don't
Right.
even ask her what magic wand she uses, because she just has the skills. She has
Your brain
the
is still your
ability.
number one asset.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
So she
still
just
is.
still fixes it to make it better. And so that's the thing. I don't think that this is a worry in terms of like devaluing the market. I do worry about
No.
saturation, but like I said, it's one of those things that
Mm,
it's all about getting your book in front of the right
yeah.
audience. If your audience notices it, the thing is too that people don't realize, here's the thing that people don't realize, is that sales drive the algorithm. And
Mm-hmm.
so the saturated market, while it is saturated, there are 4 million books published every year on average. And I don't know what the 2026 numbers are going to be. 2025 still said there were only about 4.4 million, which is interesting because that's been the average number for like the last 10 years, every year of new books published. But here's what's interesting about this is that number, regardless of the saturation of the market, you still only see a top 10 recommended or a top 100 sold, right? You still have a top
Mm-hmm.
100. And those people that sift to the top of the pile are not the AI books, because it's the sales that drive them there.
Well, and it's also conversion rates. There's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of things that go into the algorithm. Maybe we should talk about this sometime as far as what Amazon actually looks at for ranking, because it used to just be, well, it used to be views, then it used to be just sales, and then they added some other things into it. And those things are very difficult for someone that's just mass producing AI books to achieve. Most of those books will not sell at all, ever. They won't sell a single copy because they're not going to appear anywhere in the algorithm. And that's actually good news for authors. But what it also means is like this next statistic that AI will reduce opportunities for debut and mid-list authors. 42% of people feel like it will, 40% believe that it won't. It's nearly a split right down the middle. I do not believe that it'll reduce opportunities for debut and mid-list authors. I believe that you make your own opportunities.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, it's just and that's my personal opinion, is you have to set yourself up for success and you make your own opportunities. And that may mean doing things that are completely different. But what's interesting is, because you see this with other companies and other things as well, is having your book in different formats and then approaching it with different types of advertising, depending upon the book it is. And your book may sell a whole bunch in Apple Books and not sell on Amazon, and your Amazon rankings might mean nothing, right? It
Hmm.
it might mean nothing to you because, or you sell on Kobo because you sell mostly in Germany and they don't care about Kindle. It doesn't matter. Kindle rankings in Germany are not nearly as important as they are in the US, right?
Hmm.
So authors are attacking things from different ways and different angles and different points of view to still make a living. Okay, so it's not a threat, it's just a matter of determining your approach and treating this like the business that it is. And
Hmm.
understanding, regardless of whether there's AI books or not, it's just a hard industry to make it in. Okay, so you have to do those different things.
Right.
The next statistic, though, this is what's really interesting to me, and it may be because we have a number of authors that are not published yet that this statistic came through,
Mm.
but agreement that their own work was own published work may have been used for training without consent by AI companies is at just 33%, with 53% that disagree, so not very many neutral.
Mm. That's
That's
interesting.
really interesting because in the next section, we're going to talk about the collective rights positions and the data that only 33% feel that their work has been used to train AI does not hold up when we look at the next section. Okay, which is super interesting to me because people feel like other people's work has been used, but theirs has not. Okay.
Mm.
But this is some of the most interesting findings of the survey are when it comes to rights, compensation, and
Well,
institutional
can I
trust.
can I bring something up
Yes,
really quick?
go.
Just
Yes,
something that just popped in my head. On that 33% that think that their work was not used to train AI, could it be because of the statistical amount of people that filled out our survey? The majority of them, well, or that statistical amount, there was a statistical amount that had not yet been published. So they
right.
don't,
27% had not
yeah.
yet been
So
published.
that's kind of like
I
right
mean,
around the
it's
same
almost,
amount.
this is why I almost want to do another survey, and we were talking about this
Hmm.
beforehand as well, is because some of these questions I want to be conditional. If you haven't published so far, I really don't want you to answer that question, right?
Right. Right.
So there could be a larger number of people who have published who feel like their work was used to train AI, and we just have that percentage of people. Maybe if we pulled that 27% out, we would have different
We
results,
would have probably had
right?
a
We
different
didn't
result
we
that
didn't
one.
do that. We could have gone through some complex analysis that we did not undertake to basically see how that shakes out. But it is interesting because that's what I was thinking too, is maybe that percentage is low simply because we have a large number of people that have not published yet. So
Right.
obviously their published works, because they don't have any, were not used
Because
to
yeah,
train AI.
when you consider the amount of people that understand the Anthropic lawsuit and what really went down there, it feels like, because
It's
I
a
mean you and
lot.
I we yeah, because when you and I run in different circles. Not all of our audience is the new author, right? A lot of our friends are
Right.
the more experienced authors, and all these experienced authors are involved in that Anthropic lawsuit.
Right.
And
Exactly.
multiple books of theirs, not just one book of theirs, but multiple books. So
Multiple.
I'm
Well, yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing is it's and look, oh man, this gets really crazy because when
Mhm.
we so this next statistic, like it surprises me because okay, so there was an opportunity a couple of years ago where some of the AI companies actually approached like the Writers Guild and some other people and said, "Hey, what if we had a model where authors were compensated for allowing us to train
To train
models
our
on
models.
their work?"
Mhm.
Right? And authors at that time overwhelmingly said, "Hell no. If
Mhm.
these people, if they gave me I mean, there was some ridiculous figure, like if they gave you $5,000 a title or whatever, would you let them train your AI on your work? And all the authors were saying no. In our survey, three-quarters of respondents, 74%, said that authors should be compensated when their work is used to train AI models.
Mhm.
So we had an opportunity a few years ago to develop that model. What happened was authors said no, so models found ways to train on fiction
Without
work
paying
anyway
you.
without
Mhm.
paying. And this is what these lawsuits coming out are all about. And the truth is, if you had accepted the idea that the Authors Guild had a $5,000 for training on your work, you get more than what you're going to actually get from the
From
Anthropic
the
lawsuit
Anthropic
per
lawsuit.
work,
Hmm.
and you have to wait months for that. The AI people would pay you right away. Now,
And there
I
were
don't, I'm
conditions
not saying
involved with
that's an
that too.
answer,
There were
except that
conditions
I'm
too.
saying that AI training on a whole lot of fiction work does not improve AI's performance. And that's a whole other discussion for probably another time. I don't even know. Or if it's a discussion we should have at all. But I think the same principle applies to every single uh, computer model that there is, which is garbage in, garbage out. So a lot of the stuff that AI has trained on for fiction, the reason it's not as good at it as it could be is because it's been trained on crap. Okay. So anyway, that's one of my things that I believe.
Yeah,
They got
exactly.
trained on crap. The other thing that was in this part, though, is that let me get back there. Um, a lot of people support legally mandated disclosure of training data sources, 72%, and stronger copyright protections for authors in the age of AI, 71%.
Yep.
So 71 and 72% think that we need stronger copyright laws and that basically it should be legally mandated that Anthropic and other companies reveal where they got the training data that they trained their models on.
I don't
Now,
disagree with these things, but I need to reiterate something because I am a huge copyright. You know how I am about copyright. Like I love this law, right? I
mm-hmm,
love the copyright law. Here's the thing. It's written into our federal constitution, people. It is a strong, strong protection that you have. And what's really funny to me about this whole thing is that a lot of you are crying foul about your constitutional rights when it comes to your copyright, but I would venture to guess that more than half, probably closer to 75%, and I would be shocked if it was less than 80 when it comes to this, that 80% of you are probably not even registering your copyright after you publish.
mm-hmm,
Like in fact, I'm I'm almost positive about this because anytime I talk to authors that come to me and I talk to them about registering their copyright, they look at me cross-eyed and they're like, "What do you mean? What am I supposed to do? Don't you do that? I don't understand." Like cuz it's something you just don't understand. And that's something,
mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's not of any fault of yours. You're coming into an industry and you're learning something new, and honestly, it's something I specialize in. I get it. I get it. I'm in the world all day long. You guys don't. So
Right.
you're not going to know. It's not like I presume to understand everything about how to paint a house. I don't paint houses. You know what I mean? Like it's not what
Right.
I do. But the thing is that this statistic is interesting to me because people are calling like for stronger copyright laws. Well, we've talked to a copyright attorney. Those copyright laws are pretty solid and the precedents have been
Mm-hmm.
set. The only thing that we probably should be discussing is how AI is allowed to be copyrighted. And that's where
Well,
I'm kind of like a little bit weird about things, but I still
yeah.
feel like it should be based on the person.
Also, it's really interesting that one of the things we should talk about more that gets rarely talked about in indie author circles is about registering your copyright.
I
Okay, if
could
we
talk
want
about it.
stronger copyright laws,
Well,
one of the
register.
keys to that is to register your copyright under the current law.
Right.
Because a lot of people found out when the Anthropic suit came out that if they had not registered their copyright, they didn't get paid. And
Mm-hmm.
Anthropic still took their books, still trained AI on them,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't get compensation for it because you didn't register your copyright officially with the Copyright Office. Again,
Right.
copyright is a noun, like our attorney talked about. You should go back and look at that episode. It is not a
I'll put
verb.
it in the
So you don't
description.
copyright something, you register your copyright for something.
Mm-hmm.
Copyright is something you already have, but a registered copyright is legally defensible. A non-registered one is very difficult to legally defend. That's because of a Supreme Court decision,
Thank you, Ruth
all that kind of
Ginsburg. But
stuff.
anyway,
Right. But
I will
yeah,
put that in the description.
we'll put that in the thing below. But this is one of those things that's kind of like when people are really upset about voter rights, but only 30% of people vote.
Yeah, right?
Look,
Like and that's
if you want to do more about voter rights, then go out and vote. right?
Or
That's
yeah,
one of the things. Like
if
people
you
have
want to
died
bitch
for your
about,
right to vote. Go
yeah,
out and
go
vote.
do it.
So
If you
it's
want to
just
bitch
one of
about
those
your
things, and
local
I don't want to
government,
get off on a
do
political
something about it.
tangent,
Like
except
I
to
get
say
mad.
that the percentages are probably the same. 30% of people vote, probably 30% of indie authors register the copyright. It's
Yeah,
probably a
right.
very similar
Hmm.
statistic, and it's a legal protection that you have, so use it to the full
Hmm.
extent of what it's available to you.
Right.
Okay? Get your Library of Congress number, register your copyright, do all the things.
Do the
Okay?
things. Be the
Just do the
professional.
things because that's going to help you a lot. Because here's one of the most interesting things is that we as authors do not have confidence in institutions to help us.
Right.
Only 9% of respondents agree that they trust the publishing industry to advocate for
Advocate for
authors'
author
rights
rights.
regarding AI, while 70% disagree.
And
Now,
that's a
listen.
call to you author professionals out there. Like that's something that, like, I
Oh,
mean, there's somebody
yeah.
I'm following just recently, and she's amazing. I'm like following her more and more. She's really doing a great job advocating for authors and gaining knowledge and understanding this industry, and she's really doing a good things, like a lot of things that like you and I advocate for. She's doing a really good amount of talking over there, and we should probably have her on the podcast. She's amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, she she also addressed this, where the trust issue is not there. Well, the thing is that that is on us as professionals. There's a lot of people out there that have the ability to be a little louder than the normal, those of us who just,
Hmm.
we live in our little world and we just operate on a smaller scale. And we just, I mean, you and I, it wasn't until just recently that you and I started thinking, oh crap, we should probably have a louder voice, and we should probably, I don't know, maybe we should do
Right.
something about this podcast,
Well,
because most people
yeah.
don't do that. Most people in this industry that are the honest, that we meet at these
Hmm.
conferences and things, they're just running their small businesses and they're working with authors and they have their passion, and they just have their little corner of the world. The problem is that the bigger companies, the ones that are loud and the ones that are, they are the scam artists, and they are there's a lot of them.
Or here's the thing, and this is something we as an industry need to re-examine, and
Yes.
that is the fact that only 9% of people in this survey agree that publishers will act in the best interests of authors, but
Mm-hmm.
publishers that should be one of their
That
number
should be
one
their
things
number
that
one
they do.
focus.
Well, why
Yeah.
are groups like the Writers Guild and Ally and other, which are
Mm-hmm.
for largely made up now of independent
Independent
authors,
authors.
why are they the louder voices than the publishers? And that's because they actually do. It's part of their charter and part of their mandate to have the interests of authors at
Authors.
heart.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go to bat for ourselves and as part of those organizations. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I frankly, I don't give a damn what Thomas and Mercer does right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't believe that they're acting in the best interests of authors. They are acting primarily in their own best interest because they are a for-profit company and
Mm-hmm.
that is what they do.
Right.
Right? We talked about that earlier in the survey where people talk about that AI companies put profit ahead of creators. You betcha they do because they don't care about us. So when we take this stance where we are backing or caring about some company or some particular publisher or whatever that's one of the big five that clearly has been taking advantage of authors for years, we're putting
Mm-hmm.
ourselves in the wrong positions. We need to be advocating for author rights. We want to be storytellers that have sustainable careers that are more respected, all that kind of stuff. First of all, stop doing the scammy stuff yourself. Okay? Don't be
Exactly.
pumping out a bunch of crap, putting a bunch of low content notebooks and planners on Amazon so you can make a bunch of money or whatever, or you think you can make a bunch of money. Like put in the work, write the book, put it on Amazon, do the marketing, do the advertising, and be the author that you're supposed to be. Okay? Or don't, whichever, right? But we need to advocate for ourselves as authors and author rights because this survey is absolutely right. Of course, the publishers are not going to stand up for us. Of course, they're not going to have our best interests at heart. They have their own best interests at heart. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, authors as a group have not always done right by publishers either. We
That's
put our
true.
books with publishers and we expect them to do all the work for us. We're not going to do any marketing. We're not going to send any traffic there. And we're not going to do anything like that for that publisher. Right. And so then the publisher goes, hey, why did we go to all the work for this book that you clearly don't believe in? And you say, well, that's your job to do the marketing. No, it's not. Okay. Anyway, that's a whole other, I could go on a rant. Wow. But
Rant
I'm not.
alert.
Here's the thing is rant alert, rant alert. Look, here's the thing. Publishers need to have more of authors' interests at heart. If we're going to continue to work together with publishers at all, and that's going to be a survivable business, publishers need to work with authors and have authors' interests at heart, and authors who work with publishers need to have that publisher's interests at heart as well. So both of you are selling, both businesses are thriving and surviving, and we move forward, right? We
Exactly.
can't, this thing where we don't trust each other. I don't trust an agent. I don't trust an editor. I don't trust a publisher. That thing, all that's doing is dividing us, and it makes us weak as an industry.
As an
Okay.
industry. Mm-hmm.
Then,
Exactly.
anyway, okay.
Rant over.
Rant over. Disclosure. We'll move on to disclosure and labeling. A majority, 50% of people agree that AI generated content should be clearly labeled as such in all publishing contexts.
Agreed.
However, the sample is more divided on whether authors who use AI as a writing aid should disclose that use to readers. Only 41% agree. So 57% say that AI generated content should be clearly labeled in all publishing contexts, except for mine, where 41%, 45% of people basically say, I don't have to disclose that to readers. Okay, that's kind of a dichotomy there. We could talk about what that actually means, except
Yeah.
that what it means is we're divided in this way that the rules apply to others and not necessarily to us.
Which is
Okay.
interesting. And also, kind of, I think this is, again, not to get too political, but it feels like this is definitely one of those situations where people get this way about a lot of things, not just
Mm-hmm.
about writing.
Like the rules don't necessarily apply to me. Well,
Mm-hmm. I'm
my friend, they
special.
actually
They
do.
do. They do.
They do
If you
apply to
want
you.
if you want free speech, then free speech applies to everybody.
Then it applies to everyone. This is the hardest thing that we have right now. And it's much like our societies, our industry is divided over things like the use of AI or not use of AI, and whether to self-publish or whether you should be a part of a publishing group, and all these different things that divide our industry, right? But that
Mhm.
really, in the long run, don't matter to the heart of our industry, which is the art of writing and storytelling,
And the respect
right?
and the respect and the space to give everybody the opportunity to do the same thing.
Well,
The
and the
creative
respect
space,
of society in general of
right.
storytellers.
Right.
Storytellers throughout history have been some of the most revered and honored people in societies. And in the United States right now, that is not the case. You say you're an author, and it's like saying you're a middle school teacher, which is another profession that should be extremely respected,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
That's another rant that I could go off on.
I'm ready to
But
go on a
basically, what?
rant too about artistry and storytelling because my kids
Oh,
took me to see the Hades Town yesterday and I just cried the
oh,
entire time, but it was so good. Anyway,
oh man,
but
we're gonna have
my
to see that.
point,
But anyway,
it
but
was good.
yeah, I mean the point is we're
The
we've
point
got
is that we've got to be respectful in this industry and supportive of one another, and to also
mhm,
when you want disclosure, when you want labeling, then that means you want it for everybody, including yourself.
including
and
yourself.
and if you are afraid or if you have reservations to disclose whether or not you used AI, you need to, this goes to the heart of the question, why are you using it then? And
Yeah,
what are
you
you
need to do
using it
some
for? You need to
self-examination
do some
in that particular
self-examination.
case.
Yeah, I agree.
But the main thing is to erase this division that we have, because what's really
Hmm.
interesting is along a lot of these lines in the survey is there was just almost an equal
It was
division,
almost
but
an
it was a
equal division. It
division.
was weird.
but it was a division. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why are we divided on some of these things? We don't have to be.
Right.
But anyway, the next section talks about 5-year outlook expectations for the coming 5 years. And in several cases, these are also closely balanced on personal income.
Mm-hmm.
40% expect AI to have a positive impact, while
Hmm.
43% do not, almost evenly split.
Even split.
They're more inclined to see the traditional path as exposed to harm from AI, basically. 41% expect AI to make it harder for traditionally published authors to secure contracts and deals. That's really
That's
interesting.
interesting.
And 56% believe that AI will improve the tools available to self-published authors.
I agree with that.
So they think that traditional deals are going to be exposed. It's going to be more difficult to get a traditional deal, but 56% believe AI will improve the tools that they
Self-publishing
themselves
tools.
have to
Hmm.
use.
And I agree with
I fully
that.
believe that.
I agree with that.
I
I
believe
think that
both
that's
those
an
actually.
interesting thing about the tools because it is elevating the business a bit. But again, it's like you said, Troy. It raises the average, right? So what we're doing is we're just
Hmm.
going to see an elevated quality the more
Hmm.
people elevate their
Because
quality.
you're going to have to elevate your quality
You're
to
going to have to
stand
really
above
to
the
stand above
average.
the average.
So in order to do that, which means you're going to have to train more, you're going to have to work harder, that
Mhm.
type of thing, which is fine. But it also means that I think there is a market, that there's going to be a market for primarily human created work that
Mhm.
is an outlier that stands out from what everyone else is
I
producing.
agree.
I
I
fully
agree.
believe that'll be the way things work. I think the same thing will happen with audiobooks. We can talk about that at a different time. Um, the views on the impact of AI
The
on
reading
reading culture
culture. This is
are
interesting.
divided. Again,
Mhm.
39% expect a negative impact. 42% disagree with that and apparently thinking it will have a positive impact. And there's a few people in the middle. Um, I'm kind of divided on this. I think that we already have a problem with reading culture, that
Yeah, I
fewer and
think we
fewer
are.
people are reading.
I think fewer and
But
fewer people are literate. That's what's interesting.
I think that is going to change. And the reason I
Yeah.
think that's going to change is because of watching my son's generation and his friends come up.
Oh, that's
And
a
I see
positive
more and more
outlook.
of them reading, but also more and more of them into things like physical books
That's yeah. In fact,
and
my
more
daughter just
physical
read a
things.
huge
So,
survey about that.
yeah.
There
So
are
it's
people buying
interesting.
laser discs right now.
Exactly. There are people buying laser discs and CDs and CD players and stuff because also it's a matter of ownership, which is another
Right.
thing that we could talk about. But I think that there are more people in this I think there was a gap of
Hmm.
people that fewer of those people read books.
Right.
They were getting entertainment in easier manners of consumption. But the thing that video does not do that books do is allow you to have your own imagination, your own impression of things. I also think that it's very similar to music, is that we're going through a thing where the algorithm is going to matter less and the things that people are talking about are going to matter more. So
Yep.
you
And
having a local sensation of your book or something like that is going to become more and more common
I
because there's
actually,
smaller like book clubs and things like that
yeah,
where people are talking about books, they share them with their friends. I think that is going to have a larger impact on the future of authors than algorithms. I think algorithms are going to start to matter a little bit less,
I
but
agree with that.
that's
I'm seeing
that
more
and the
of that.
creation of a micro community is
Yeah. I'm
part
seeing
of the things
more
I see
of
in the
that
future.
happening. I'm seeing
Yeah.
more of that happening now than ever with me with music specifically. It's interesting to me how music is coming into my world. It's not coming through the normal mediums where you listen to the radio and it comes on or you're listening, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
because you
don't
don't.
and when you were doing your class today, I don't know if you caught this in the chat, but like when you started to talk about social media and how much of a distraction that is, it was interesting to me how many people said, I don't even go on social media anymore.
Yeah,
And I'm
I
like,
have found my
ooh,
Facebook
that's
use
interesting. Oh, I'm
has
down to
dropped
nil.
significantly. My
Yeah.
Facebook use has dropped significantly. And what I will say that has dropped to almost nothing for me is buying anything off social
Oh
media
yeah.
from
Yeah.
an
I don't
ad.
buy anything on
And
social media
so I
anymore.
think we're seeing a reset in the ads, and there are still readers that buy off of Facebook ads. I'm not saying that has no relevance at all.
Yeah.
But we're seeing a shift in that for sure. And I think that is reflective of the shift that we're seeing. Like in music, the way I hear about music is either friends recommend it or the algorithm of whatever music app I'm listening to sees what music is like the music that I'm
Hmm.
listening to, but it's because it's like it not only in genre but like in the type of artist almost. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a little more complicated algorithm than what it used to be.
Yeah. It's
But I
more,
also
yeah.
feel like the one that more people are liking, that more people are talking about, those are the things that are showing up in our algorithm, not necessarily based on sales, but based on engagement.
Yeah. And,
And
I
I
don't know
think
if you guys have all
that's,
talked about the woo woo of the internet, but you know how, you say something out loud and you have to be careful because your phone's listening. It's kind of interesting when you're with friends. I've noticed this with my daughter specifically because she talks about music and movies a lot. And when she comes in and she's talking about a music or a movie in front of me, it's not because I searched it on my phone, but it would be, I am often laughing when I open my music
yeah,
apps or my phone apps or my shopping apps, and there's the stuff my daughter was just talking about. It's
yeah,
just so people need to understand that the algorithm is not so much listening or watching your own habits, but what are you talking about? That's really
yeah.
interesting to
What are you
me.
conversing with your friends about? And I think the
Mhm.
algorithm is starting to pick up on that. I think AI is a part of that,
I
certainly.
do too.
Um, but I think, like, I mean, it's the same reason, like when I'm talking with my spouse about certain female apparel items, and suddenly my Facebook feed is flooded with those. Look, I wasn't
Oh.
shopping for those. I was talking to somebody that was shopping for those, but you should see something in my profile that indicates I'm not interested in that. But anyway, but you know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's,
That's
but
funny.
what I'm saying is that these micro communities building around things, the conversations building around those micro communities, I think is what is causing things to take off. And they might not take off globally, but all it takes is a local or regional takeoff for you as an author, and you've got a way to make a living.
Yeah,
So
it
I
you don't
think
have to
things
be
are
global to be
shifting.
successful.
Yeah, things are shifting, things are changing in the way that discoverability is happening and all that. And AI has some things to do with that. People
Mhm.
and humans and the way that they talk and the way they discuss things is also having something to do with that. But I really think that, like, when we come to the conclusions of this survey, what's interesting is that there's an interesting divide, right?
Mhm.
We have predominantly experienced writers that are independently publishing. They've practically adopted AI, but they don't trust it. So they don't trust the technology and they don't trust the companies and institutions that surround it. So AI is already embedded in our workflows, and we think it provides things that are more efficient for us, right? But we still have doubts about its reliability, and we're worried about how fast it's being put out into the world. It's really interesting, but then the rest of things are really divided. And I found a lot of that super fascinating. I don't know.
I
I
did too.
mean,
I did too.
um,
I find that there while there is disagreement in the way that whether or not this is a positive or negative thing, and like you said, it's almost split down the middle. It does seem like everyone's kind of resigned to the fact that it's here, and we just have to decide how we want to apply it in our industry. I This survey did a lot for me in terms of like what I feel like my role should be going forward as a professional. And that is to help again, which is something that Troy and I, it's kind of the core of our mission statement, which is basically just to provide fair and accurate information and education to authors so that they can be empowered to publish their work and do it in a way that's not going to prevent them from being able to be heard. We
mhm,
believe every story matters, right? And ultimately I think that this survey has told me that I have work to do. Like I have work to do to make
right.
sure that people understand and know that there are people out here that can be trusted, and that there are fair uses of AI that will be good and beneficial to
Hmm.
your business. And also, there shouldn't there doesn't need to be this there doesn't need to be a divide in the community. It's really more important, I think, in my opinion, to make sure that we're all supporting each other as creatives in this business. I feel like the more we separate and we try to pit ourselves against, you're on this camp, I'm on this camp, the weaker we become. And that is true if you pay attention to history in every
Hmm.
facet of any kind of aspect of human nature. Like, it's when we come together that we're stronger. And I feel like this community should not be a divided community of any
Hmm.
in any way.
There have been stigma historically when we talk about like how self-publishing came about and now how
Hmm.
the use of AI has come about.
Hmm.
And I think that really what the divide in those things is the responsible use of AI and
Hmm.
responsible and professional self-publishing versus just throwing garbage out there into the world with a hope
Exactly.
and a prayer, right? I think there's a distinct difference there. And I think that we as professionals specifically need to be united. Okay, I'm not talking about AI slop that someone's just trying to throw spaghetti at a wall and make it stick. I'm talking about professional writers who are using AI as a tool to assist them in their writing and publishing process. Absolutely, there should be no stigma in that, right?
Right.
There should be no stigma whether I'm independently published or traditionally published or any, none of that stuff really matters. What matters is that we are storytellers who are trying to do this in a professional and responsible way and get our stories into the world. And the more that we support each other, the better off we are. The more that those unprofessional people and the scammers and the bad actors and the bad artists, the more those people will just go away. Like they won't be relevant anymore.
Yeah,
But the
this
more
speaks for
divided we
trolls
are,
as well. I mean, there are people out there
yeah.
that they're just instigators. They just
Mm-hmm.
all they want is engagement and conflict. And those are what we call toxic individuals. And I know
Mm-hmm.
many of you are very familiar with that term because that is something that our Gen Z and Gen Alphas love to throw out, right? Like, you're toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that it's true. It's actually, if you find that someone is, toxic, or that it's not serving you in your business or in your creative space, then you don't have to be mean about it. Just move away from it. Just
Mm-hmm.
leave. Let them engage with somebody else, but you don't have to engage. This is the beauty of our world, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
creative choice and we have freedom, and especially if you operate in the United States, we're all very familiar with this concept. So just
Mm-hmm.
walk away. Walk
Yeah.
away. Don't buy it. Don't scroll, don't click, don't engage. Just keep
Yeah.
going. Just do what's right for you. So that's
For
that's
sure.
my that's my final say on the matter. But if you guys find yourselves all triggered by what we've said, take it to the comments, but be kind because I will remove you if you're mean. Um
Well, also, let me say one
yeah,
more thing.
sure.
Before
Go ahead.
you comment or get triggered about what we're saying or whatever, please download the report and look at
Yeah,
the raw data
and look at the data.
so that you can see this is not us, just this is not Troy coming on. Some of these have been rants that I'm just coming on and I'm talking about how I
Yeah.
feel about things, right?
Yeah.
And you're welcome to disagree with those.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But what I want you to do is look at the facts, and then maybe
Mhm.
even find some other surveys that are more general of the general public and stuff like that. And let's look at
See if
how
we
people are feeling about
see if
AI and
people are
how
thinking the
the
same.
feelings about AI in some ways are shifting. There are
Right.
tons of CEOs out there who have said, to their employees, use AI. We've got to adopt AI. AI is the answer for our company, but they have no plan and no idea of how they're going to use that, right? We all know this. We all understand it. So let's, instead of panicking
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be, let's
Reacting. Yeah. Slow
slow
down.
down, don't react. Let's look at the data, look at what's available, and let's look at what we can reasonably do with
Mhm.
AI and without AI. Let's not outsource our thinking. Let's not outsource our emotions and our opinions to AI. And let's use it responsibly. Like
Yeah.
use it however you want, but use it
Use
responsibly
it
and in a
responsibly.
way that makes sense and that doesn't create issues for you going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's some downfalls, pitfalls here. We could talk about those some other time.
Yeah,
But
we
really,
could.
at this point, we just want to give you, like, this is the raw data. This is
We
what we
just wanted to
found.
give
This is
you the
what you guys
data.
told us
Hmm.
when we answered. We will probably run another survey at some point because I feel like even since we did the survey, there's been some shifts in AI opinion that I've seen
There
out there.
has.
So maybe when we do our Wayfinder Summit, which we're going to mention here at the end because I can, wink,
Yeah.
wink, nod, nod, link in the comments, all that stuff,
Yeah.
in the description, not the comments,
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, whatever the heck you're talking about. Anyway, when we have our Wayfinder Summit, which is a virtual writing retreat, which is designed to get you to disconnect and get away, even if you're going to be at home, and spend some time writing, right?
Hmm.
And when we do that, well, we may do another author survey like this and allow you to spread it around to your friends and all kinds of people like that. Because I would love to get more responses, even, but also I would love to just understand this is kind of a moving pulse type thing of like, how do we really feel about AI and maybe extrapolate from that how we should feel about AI.
Yeah. How should we feel about it? And then maybe we can put in some of
Mm.
those other variables and the factors like the environmental
Mm-hmm.
and if that weighs on your opinion of it or anything. So that would be interesting.
Yep. It'll be super
Anyway,
fun.
yeah, I think so. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Again, we're going to go ahead and plug a few things here. If you want to bag out, fine with me. But those of you that stick to the end, I'm going to give you a keyword and I'm going to expect it to put in the comments because it's going to be funny. Number two, number one, our power session and your craft lab are set for August. Mine
Mm-hmm.
particularly is going to be on emails for authors, email systems
Yes.
and learning how to do it so you don't feel gross or salesy. So you can register for that power session. It's going to be the third Thursday in August. And then Troy, you're going to be teaching one about poisons, which I'm very excited
Yes.
about.
How to
um,
use poisons responsibly in fiction.
in
This is not
fiction.
if you want to get rid of your mother-in-law, this is not the
That's not
class for you
not the
because you
class.
probably don't want it to be in your search history. Just
But
but yeah, so we're going to talk about, yeah, in generally responsibly how to use poison. It's kind of a mystery thriller craft
it's going to
thing,
be a
but I mean,
fun
hey, you
one.
can use it in all kinds of other
You
things as
could.
well.
You
And
could.
the other thing that we're going to cover in there is just how to research things and how to
Yeah.
research things responsibly. In other words, I'm not going to ask Chat GPT. It won't give you an answer anyway. It's kind of, there's
Yeah.
some guide rails there or something. But anyway,
Right. So
some
research for
kind of
poisons not
protection
really going to be yeah, it's going to be
somewhere
kind of
along the way.
might
But
be a
anyway,
little
yeah,
fake.
so it'll be super fun. Join us if you want to just talk about poisons and talk about different things and how that works in fiction and
That'll be
ways to
fun.
be responsible as you're writing mystery fiction and responsibly research as you go too.
That'll be really fun. I'm excited about that one. That's going to be a fun class. So anyway, and then like Troy mentioned, we do have our Wayfinder Summit that we have launched. You can go to wayfindersummit.com and you can find information there. The registration links are up and they are live. We are super excited about this. We are switching from our Feldheim Summit to the Wayfinder Summit because we found that more people were receptive to an like, I guess, what is this? It's going to be called a virtual retreat
Hmm.
because of the economy and because of travel and because of all the
The other
uncertainties
things
that
that are
are
happening in the
just the
world.
things and that are happening in the
Yeah.
world. We wanted to make this accessible. We wanted this to be something fun. Troy and I are also very interested in, like I said, reaching out to the author community in ways that are unique and different that help you feel connected. So we wanted to do something and see if we could start something that maybe is like a stone rolling down a hill. Maybe it could become something huge in the future. So we're really excited about this. It's only a $30 minimum, and it's a 3-day writers retreat. We do have Becca Syme and Roland Denzel that have both agreed to join us for the summit. We're probably going to still have Nick Nelson, right?
Hmm.
And myself and Troy. Troy will be one of our keynotes along with Becca and Roland. I'm going to be on staff for like some breakouts. We're going to have some amazing power sessions and we're going to have some amazing writing sprints. And this is going to be a retreat specifically designed to help you get work done. This is not going to be sitting here listening to a bunch of us chatter on about certain writing techniques or systems and trying to tell you that you have to do it our way. And then you walk away with a bunch of notes you're not going to use. That's not what this is.
Yeah.
This is
Nope,
a
not at all.
retreat. So you will be having focused time that we are writing. You'll have focused time that you'll be networking with other writers and bouncing ideas off of each other. We're going to have breakout sessions. We're going to have writing walks. We're going to have like walks where we turn off the computers and we take a 20-minute break without our phones and then return and report. Like we're going to have some really, there's going to be recognition for those of you who are helping one another and encouraging one another. We're going to have badges. We're going to have all kinds of fun things. So we're going to make this as fun as possible. You will be getting a welcome kit. The first 250 people who register will be getting a welcome kit that is physically mailed to you with special gifts.
Yeah, not just a digital one.
Not digital
but a
ones.
real one.
Yeah,
with
real
some
ones.
cool stuff in it.
Yeah, we have some merch that we've set up. We've got a sweatshirt that we like, a zippy hoodie, because I'm a big fan of zipper hoodies. So we have a zipper hoodie that's really cool. I'm very proud of because the design on it is super cool. And on the sleeve, I even put on the sleeve, our writing sleeves. Most of us are right-handed. I'm sorry for your lefties, but I put it on the right sleeve. I know, I'm sorry, but it says stay the course on the sleeve. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, I'm very excited about all the little fun stuff. So I'm very, I think this will be a really fun opportunity for a lot of you. And like I said, it's a $30 minimum is all for 3 full days of just focused time with other writers and other professionals. Again, just getting that refuel that you might need to kind of feel engaged and motivated in your writing career. So I'm very excited about that. And then last but not least,
we couldn't tell.
I know, I'm so excited. Like I'm just giddy. And then we also have our author business harbor over there in school. You are all welcome to join there. I had one client, he is a client of ours, but also follower of ours, ask today if school was just for seasoned professionals. It's not. It's for everybody. No. If you are a newbie, never published, just starting on your manuscript, just want to surround yourself with other creatives, or if you've been a seasoned pro and you've written 500 books, just come on over. We welcome all of you. We do moderate that and protect that carefully. There is an auto mod in there as well that is very good at like highlighting people that sound spammy. So if you use AI even to answer posts, it will trigger and tell us that we have somebody in there that's suspicious. So be aware that we're being very careful with that community to make sure that people are being 100% authentic and human in there and not being salesy and spammy. So if you want to come and feel connected and feel like you're part of a group that can help you in your career, that is the place to go. So you are more than welcome to join us. It's free to come over there and hang out with us. Anything else, Troy, that I missed?
I think that's pretty much it. Other than, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just follow us here. Like, subscribe, notify, do
follow,
all the things.
Comment, tell, and
follow,
here's your bonus. Tell everybody tell Troy how good his hair looks today. It's laying over. Oh. Isn't that great?
I just had to check. She said it. I'm like, what does it look like today?
What does it look like right now? My hair's kind of crazy.
What does it look like right now? If I run my fingers through it enough that it's standing up?
Yeah, mine is the crazy one today. It's all frizzy today because I braided it yesterday and then just pulled it out this morning. So it's just frizzy. But anyway, so yeah. But anyway, I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Remember to keep writing, be kind, and stay weird. We'll see you guys next week.
Your hair looks amazing.
And your hair looks fantastic.
See you guys next week.
See you guys later. Bye.